In software engineering, we are taking chapter number 4, which is process models. We're discussing about SDLCs, concurrent models. So this is also one type of software development life cycle. Concurrent means all the framework activities, all the phases of the software development will go concurrent. So this we also called as concurrent engineering. So here we are talking about the iterative, that is looping one by one, and then concurrent elements of any of the process models. Any process models you can talk. We will talk about spiral. So here we have spiral model. Any framework activity will start with communication, then planning, then modeling and construction, and then deployment. So these are the different states. Every framework activity will be in certain states. All will be in concurrent, means all will be there, but in different, say awaiting changes, say under review, say under development, inactive, done, baseline. These are the different states. But every activity will have certain state and they will be there concurrently. So let us take an example. Now, if you are working, or say you are walking. Now your friend comes, you start standing. You are standing now. When you are done with your talk, you again start walking. So this is how your states are changing depending upon certain trigger, depending upon certain event. So all these different phases will be in certain state. Okay. So if modeling is taken, if modeling is at certain state, the communication and construction will also be in certain state. If one can be at under development, other can be at done, the other can be in under review. If we start with communication, whenever a project starts, there will be communication activity. Now, if the communication activity, the requirements have been taken, and now we are saying that it is completed. We are going through an iteration, number of iteration, and we say the communication has been completed. It's complete. So now this will go in the done state, or it can go into awaiting changes. Because why not done but awaiting changes? Because after communication activity there will be certain requirements, communication will come. Okay. Now the modeling activity, when communication was happening, the modeling was at none state, or you can say inactive state. Now this modeling activity will get transited or will be transitioned to under development state. When communication was there, modeling was at an active state, but communication happened, now it is under development. Some more changes are coming. If some more changes are coming in the requirement, so the modeling activity which was under development, now it can be transferred to the awaiting changes state, because now the communication activity has to take place. So now communication activity will become active. Okay. So you understood this. There are certain triggers. So concurrent modeling is all about defining what are the events, what are the triggers which will transition the different framework activity, and what activities, action and task will be done accordingly. Okay. During the early stage of design, if some inconsistency is there, say some requirement model problem is there, so this will again trigger the requirement analysis action from done, because we say, oh, because all our requirements have been taken, so it will go to awaiting changes, because now the changes will go into under revision, under review, like this. So what I am trying to suggest here is every phase concurrent and will be in certain stage, certain phase or event will trigger all of them. Okay, will change the state according to the activity which is upcoming during the course of the software development, right? And this is the figure I am trying to talk about modeling activity. It can be for any of the activity. specialized process models. So we have a waterfall model, spiral model, prototype. We talked about all these. But what are these specialized process models? These software development life cycle, they will be employed, they will be used for some specific cases, not for every general cases. So this specialized process model, they are taking the good characteristics or many of the characteristics of different traditional model. Say from waterfall model, from spiral model like this. And as I said, these specialized models will be applied only where certain software has to be made, specialized software has to be made. And where very specific kind of software engineering is involved. We'll talk about in specialized models, the component-based models, component-based software development. Then we have the formal methods model. This is also an SDLC. Then we have aspect-oriented software development. Component-based development, software development life cycle. So you might have heard about the game Lego. So the kids get a lot of parts and they can fit together. So when the kids fit it together, it will be some animal, it will be a car, it will be some fighter aircraft like this. So these are the components, these are the different parts. So what up till now, what has happened? Various vendors, various companies, software companies, they have already created the commercial off the shelf COTS software components. For example, the payment gateway is already there. So if you make a website, some e-commerce website, now the payment part, you don't need to build it because it is already available as a software component commercially. You can just go and buy. You can just buy it, right? So these are already well-defined interfaces they have, these payment gateway, these commercial off-the-shelf components, and they can be easily taken and easily integrated into your software. And this component-based development model, various characteristics of spiral model is incorporated. So the way we develop using the component-based, this is using the spiral model basic characteristics. And since we are talking about spiral model, it is evolutionary. That is why it has to be iterative approach, because most of the time you will combine 2 components and 3 components like this to make a complete software after combining all the components. So this modeling and construction activity will contain what? What are the candidate components? What all components you have to fit? So if you want to fit a software, which component, which part you want to make it more complete? Okay. So these components, as I said, it can be a calendar, as small as calendar, it can be a payment gateway, it can be some conventional software modules that I just talked about. Okay. Along with this, we have the object-oriented classes, it can be taken, or the class packages can be taken. All these are called as components only. So this component-based development model, it follows certain steps. The first one is, what are the available components, whether it are available as a COTS in the market, or whether you are going to make it or take it from your some company, say sister company. So you have to research it, and then this component integration, because this model is all about taking component and combining it. So what will be the integration issues? What will be the problem arise? What will be the risk, etc. Then some architecture you have made properly. So a car architecture, for example, you are making, so you need where to put the tires, where to put the engine in the front or the back. So there will be software architecture, because now you are trying to fit in these components. So where to fit it? For that you will have some component architecture, software architecture, and these now components are integrated as per the architecture you have made or as per the design you have made. And then when you are combining them, you have to do comprehensive testing, because what you have decided or you have desired, the functionality should be like this. So component based modeling or this development is all about software use, because once you reuse, your time will be less and the project cost will be less. You don't need to start everything from the scratch, and you don't need to reinvent the wheel. For example, here you see this is a holiday reservation, or you can say the hotel reservation. So credit card billing is already made, reservation is already made, loyalty program is already made. So just take it as a component and fit it, and then just test it. The formal methods model. Formal method. So here we are talking about putting formal mathematical specification. You will not write mostly in English. If I talk about, say, digital 1 and 0, it can be only true and false. There will be no ambiguity. If I say 2 plus 3 is 5, if you write this in the specification, there is no chance of any inconsistency, any ambiguity. So you are using the formal mathematical specification to write, requirement, to write the design, to write the everything, to make a software. So formal method is all about specifying, developing and verifying the computer based system by applying your mathematical notation, as I just suggested. It can be any kind of mathematical notation, symbol notation, or some algebra notation. So these formal methods, there are certain things for specification also, that you are writing the specification, the user requirement in certain formal method, mathematical notation model. And then you are also writing for verification, that this has to be verified in the mathematical way. So there is one important clean room software engineering, and this is nothing but this variation of approach. Why it is clean room? Because there can be some problems, some ambiguity, some inconsistency in SDLC, different SDLC, but here it will not be there. So all the earlier problems can be removed in this. As I said, requirement you are not understanding, or the user is saying something. So user is asking for Jupiter, you are giving Saturn. So ambiguity, incompleteness, sometimes you don't write it. Sometimes the consistency is not there. Somewhere it is different. Other time it is different. Somewhere you are writing 2 plus 3 is 6. Somewhere you are writing 2 plus 3 is 5. So now this is mathematical analysis you are putting. It can be corrected. It can be forcefully said that this is not a mainstream approach. Okay. But if I am using formal method model, I can promise a defect-free software. This is promised because you are using mathematics to define the requirement. You are using the mathematical notation for verifying also. So the problem or the concern about the formal methods, first of all, mathematics we know all. Writing the requirements and all these documents in mathematical notation and understanding is time consuming, it's expensive, and to write, to evaluate, to understand, you have to have extensive training. It means software developer needs to be given extensive training. And the communication mechanism, how do you convey? If you are using use case or requirement specification, it is how it will be understood by an unsophisticated customer. The customer will come and he will try to understand what is this at the rate, what is this is equal to tilde sign, relational algebra, all these kind of algebra, how he is going to understand. So this formal method are used where the safety critical software you are making. For example, the developers who are making the aircraft avionics software, medical devices where the life and death is involved, and where if the software fails, there will be a hard hit economically on the company. So that is why we use the formal methods model, where life, death and immense economics is involved. Aspect oriented software development. Now this is a software development life cycle, and this is also specialized. That is, it will be used in certain specialized software only. So there will be certain word which will come. One thing is aspect. So the aspect, you might have heard about object oriented software development. So everything will be based on the object, an object-oriented software development. You'll make a class, you'll make an object, and everything will be accessed through the object. In the same way, aspect, here we are talking about software development lifecycle, we are talking about dimensions, we are talking about phases. Okay? So now today the computer system, computer-based system are so sophisticated, they are so complex, they are so modern. There are various concerns, phases, dimensions that the customer are providing, and the technical interest, there will be hardware, there will be electronics involved, there will be say communication involved, communication technology, all these are there. So the entire architecture has to be considered. See, let me tell you about this aspect or the concern. Just understand the phases, dimension, whatever is there, concern we are talking about, the aspect we are talking about. Some aspects, some thoughts to the software are only limited to high level. That is, for whole software, the high level thought concern is the security and the fault tolerance. Okay? And the other concern can be they are affecting the functions. For example, it will not be high level. It will be just affecting certain functions like application of business rules. Okay? The business rules can be what is the percentage of interest and the tax cut rate, all these. So it will be, this concern is only limited to the functions. There are other concerns for the software. It can be systematic. There is the task has to be synchronized. The memory management has to be there. Now, the important word here in aspect oriented is cross-cutting concern. So all these concern which we say, whenever they intersect each other, this is cross-cutting. So we are talking about the security. Now this security is involved, or it will be concerned to this function and this function. And when this security is concerning to these two functions, memory management is also affecting this first function. So what I'm saying is, the security aspect, high level, and the systematic concerns, they are affecting, or they will be affected to certain function, and this is the cross-cutting concern. So aspectual requirement, this defines these cross-cutting concern that have impact across the software architecture, because when you are making the software architecture, you will be talking what are the aspects which are going one over another, coinciding or intersecting. This is cross-cutting. So this is a legacy program which I am trying to suggest. This is the cross-cutting concern for the legacy program. But in an aspect-oriented program, here we always evolve the base code, but here the evolution of aspect code will be there, because these are different aspect, high-level aspect, function aspect, systematic aspect. So no, these circles are not, they have some intersection points. So aspect-oriented software development, aspect-oriented programming, aspect-oriented component engineering, AOCE, they all are same. So the names are changed, but they all are saying one thing. That in a software development life cycle, we start with the communication, then we say we plan, then we do the modeling, the designing, and then we do the construction, actual development, and then we do the deployment. So here the AOSD, AOP or AOC, this is all about specifying, telling you what will be the method. Okay, so this is all about, see, here we are talking about not all the framework activity, we are talking about DSDC, right? That is defining, specifying, designing and constructing. These are the aspects we are talking about. We are not talking about all these. We are saying previously we were doing subroutines, we are inheriting certain functions and the classes. Here we are talking about what are the process and methodological approach for defining, specifying and designing, constructing aspects so that the cross-cutting concern can be addressed. So the evolutionary model is very appropriate here, because the aspect have to be identified and we have to construct it. So the evolutionary model is quite good in this case for AOSD, AOP and AOCE. And then we have to have a parallel nature of the concurrent development. This is very essential, because the aspects are engineered independently of the localized software components, and yet the aspects have a direct impact on these functions, the components, etc. So here we just have a DSDC, not CPMCD. Unified process. So before we go to unified process, let me tell you about these three gentlemen. Okay. First is the Grady Booch, Dr. James Rambaugh, and Dr. E.R. Jacobson. In different parts of the world, they were doing the work on the same thing, object-oriented paradigm, object-oriented related stuff. And this early 1990s, these three gentlemen, they started working together for a unified method. And as I said, they were working on object-oriented paradigm, analysis, design methods, etc. So they thought, let us take the best features, what we have thought and developed, and let us combine them. And then finally, they proposed, because all these proposals were by different people also. So they combined their thoughts and those proposed by various experts in this field of object-oriented modeling. So when they combined, they sat together, and what was the result? The result was a de facto language or the notation which we use everywhere now in software engineering. This is Unified Modeling Language, UML. So the result was UML. This is the Unified Modeling Language, and this has all the notation right from the specification till your requirement, till your modeling, design, and your testing. Everything is there. So this is a robust notation for the modeling and development of object-oriented system. By 1997, this UML has become a de facto industry standard for object-oriented software development till we are using Unified Modeling Language to various aspects of software engineering. Now this unified process we'll be taking in the next discussion. Till then, thank you so much. Take care of yourself.